there. This is a follow-up since I figured last time when we were talking, last time I actually didn't show you any edited files, and I thought it could be fun, just talking about the process because I gather every photographer does it differently, and everybody has got a different approach towards editing. There is no one, at least I don't think there is no one correct way of doing things, especially such as stuff like editing photos. Well, so I narrowed it down. It was like all above 200 initially, and I narrowed it down to 10. Oh gosh, it was a process, really. But yeah, I'm used to that. I always take like thousands of photos and then I have to narrow it down to 50. So yeah, right. And I also want to tell you in advance that I will be slurping, and I I thought I could maybe bring up the camera footage of what's going on my desk, but unfortunately I can't for some reason. So I cannot show off my beautiful new mug, which is a gift from my sis. Thanks, sis. Yeah, it's beautiful, and I'm having a coffee, but it's not a regular coffee. It's a grain one because I've already had two blacks, and yeah, that's too much. Right. So now let's get into it, shall we? Yeah, develop module. Right, so cheers to everybody who's having coffee. And now, let's start with the beginning, shall we? Um, well, I do have some, like a lot of my presets that I made. Yeah, a lot. But I'm not going to use any of them. I mean, I could find one that looks sort of nice. But look, most of those presets were made to match a certain scenery, a certain subject, or even certain light circumstances. Because, it really differs if you've got a nice even lighting, even though you tweak white balance yourself, it still means that the colors and the luminance of the colors in your scene works differently. So each of those presets, well, they were actually made to work with very concrete and unique, sometimes singular situation. So being a real like saving of time and effort and whatnot. But actually, what I wanted to do today, mm, I wanted to do, a custom edit, try and remember what I felt back then, what I saw back then, and try to explain to you why I edit this photo the way that I will end up editing it. So, first things first. Uh, if you have any experience with Lightroom, you might see that my modules are configured differently than the original one, and certainly different than any other person using it because it's my workflow really. So first things first, my first sort of module lens corrections, because I always do it. Remove chromatic aberration because obviously you do not want those fringes. Now there still are some, so you really do need to get manual with it. The reddish, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, they're greenish, and you need to just tweak a little bit all those pesky sliders to get rid of the sort. Right, right. Get back to profile, and now enable profile corrections. Now, I very rarely use this option when I shoot with telephoto. Why? Because I really do like what the lens does with the scene when it is a long lens. But with the wide angle lens, and here we've got 35. Yeah, and I talked about it at length at my previous sort of chat. Why I took 35 rather than any other one. Right, so take a look at things that, yeah, like this is supposed to be a straight line. Just take a look how it behaves. Yeah, it does. It does straighten up a little bit. Once again, before and after. And other than being a little bit like straighter, it also brightens up because it removes the vignetting. Well, it's okay. I like vignetting, but I dislike banana shapes more than I like vignetting. Besides, what has happened? Oh, come on. Besides, I can bring back some vignetting in the end of the editing process, so it doesn't really matter. Now, auto. Yeah, off, still a little bit of banana shape, and auto. Right, let's leave it like that. Transforms, well, it usually is just very cosmetic, but sometimes, especially when shooting interiors, well, you do need to tweak those a lot to, prevent your walls from falling over. Calibration, if I do it very early on, but I actually very rarely do it. I mean, if you tweak the colors for calibration purposes, which means that it affects the whole image, not only reds, not only greens, not only blues, but the whole image. Well, if you want to do that, you'd better do it in the beginning, like before you edit the colors separately, in my opinion at least. Now, that's a fun part. This is something I really enjoy doing. I mean, choosing the camera profile. Yeah, that is a bit of a party for me because camera profile, oh, color profile. Yeah, it can be a camera profile, but it doesn't need to be. Right, so this is something that I really like doing because it serves as a sort of translator between how you see the scene and how the computer or the editing software interprets the colors, which is a bit of a magic for me, really, because I'm not that knowledgeable about that sort of stuff. But I can see the difference between different color profiles, and I just, ah, I love, obsessing for hours about the best color profile. Right, maybe I need to make some of my own. Right, thanks. First is Adobe. Yeah, Adobe Profiles. Obviously, since it is Adobe Lightroom application, they provide you with all sorts of their sort of Adobe made profiles. And when you first import a photograph, unless you tell Lightroom not to do that, it imports it with Adobe Color, this one. Now, this is Adobe Standard, what we are, oh, camera standard, which is Nikon standard, because I shoot with Nikon. Right, so this is standard and this is Adobe. And you can tell that the difference is really very, very subtle, but it is there. Let me tell you, it is there. And it is mostly, you can tell that it mostly affects like warm colors. Like, look at this brass. It's not brass, it's like whatever cars are made of, but but it looks like bronze. Yep. So take a look. Now this is Adobe Color, and this is camera standard. So Adobe Color makes it a little bit more glowing, like more not vibrant, but lighter and a little bit more soft. It's it's a very flattering profile for people, like portraits. But I don't really like using it because it is a little bit too soft. Right, camera matching, and now you can use all sorts of, and I don't like them. Yeah, landscape. Just that contrast. If I wanted some contrast, I could make it myself. Yeah, vivid, the same. Well, more or less the same. I just do not fancy those. Now, adaptive. That's a story, like adaptive color and adaptive black and white. And this is what AI thinks is more appropriate for your photograph. And really, I really dislike AI telling me what is best for me in any way, shape, or form. I am my own guidance. However misguided I might be, I'm very fond of my own mistakes, right? I'm human and I like it. So, no, thank you. No AI schmuck. Now, artistic. Frankly, I'm not fond of them. Like you can tell by just looking at those previews that it is simply a color cast. And even though sometimes this color cast is nice, like Artistic 5 is sometimes nice, especially when you're after that retro feel. It isn't, and I sometimes use it, and it sometimes looks great, but most of the times it just looks flat. And the others, they just look. It's just as if it's if you smeared like jam all over it, and not just any jam, blackberry jam, I think. Yeah, and here, look, everything's got yellowish, like with lemon, not lemon juice, really. No, erase it, forget it. Yeah, I don't use them. I really don't like color casts. Right, and now we've got modern, and this is something I really like. And I've got a few that I particularly like, and a few that I particularly dislike. I mean, this is really a love-hate relationship with many of them. Oh, vintage. Yeah, they're also vintage, but just look, vintage. Yeah, everything looks cringe. Not everything. No. Some look really great. Like I actually do like, yeah, 5 or 6 sometimes. But look, this is the magic of color profile. You really need to, adjust it to the photo you're working on. Like, I really like it. I mean, I do have my favorites, but I actually do not have just one favorite to work. I use all sort of profiles because different photos and different shooting scenes, they require different approach. That's all. And me, I think I need to be uh, flexible. Right. So modern one, I never use it because it is just like over the top. It's contrasty in the not very good sense of being contrasty. Modern 2, nah. Modern 3, yep. Even though I think I will need to work on it a bit, but it is a good contender, and it always is because it's one of my favorites. Like 4, no, 5. Oh, definitely not. No, no. More than 5 is something I never use. Like, I never use. Look, it's just lots of contrast, very little saturation, and frankly, nothing else. Like, what's the point of that? You can make it, just bump up the contrast slider and no, just no. More than 6, nothing fancy. More than 7, well, that looks good, but it doesn't look as good as more than 3. Yeah, can you see it? It looks nice. It looks nicer to me. Right, more than 8. Yeah, that is a huge topic. I mean, I really love Modern 8. I use it a lot, but it does give you a feeling of this sort of uh, as if you were looking at your picture through a stocking, right? Uh, it, I'm not sure what does it. Like, what is an exact effect that is being applied here? Because I actually looked at the text file of this profile and I tried to analyze it, but it was mostly LUTs. So lookup tables, which is, it's just, you cannot read it really. It's just code. So I don't know. I tried to, simulate this effect on different photos here in Lightroom, but frankly, I don't really know how to do it, and I'm just not knowledgeable enough about LUTs. Anyway, I really like it, even though, well, for this particular photo, it doesn't look too good. But one of the things, just take a look at this car on the right. It is blue. You see? Now it is blue, like blue, blue. And here, ta-dam, teal, turquoise teal. So there are some photo shoots that I just cannot use it. I mean, I really cannot use it, even though the photo looks great, but the car on the in the frame is blue and is supposed to be blue, and with Modern 9 it looks teal or turquoise. So I cannot use it because, well, sometimes I've got my creative license, but sometimes I really need a car to be the color that it really is. So yeah, that is what I mentioned, love-hate relationship. But I really do like this one. And if I could, yeah, if I only can, I use it most of the times. But now I think we'll get on with Modern 3. And what it does, it warms up the shadows a little bit. So now you can tell that it gives you some depth and it gives you some warmth. Especially look at this black metal piece in here. It gets a little bit warmer, not much, but it does. Not that it's what I choose it for. I choose it for overall sort of depth of the view. Yep, look, standard, Modern 03. Yep, let's take it. Let's take it and let's move on. And this is another sort of magical trick, white balance. So I used 5000 Kelvin, which is something that I usually use because it sort of gives it's the best way to see the natural, the way that naturally you see a scene with your own eyes, because we are best calibrated to the 5000 Kelvin. But sometimes it is not ideal. Like here, it was obviously indoors with no windows, no sunlight whatsoever. So we really do need to adjust it just a tiny bit. And the way I do it is I pull up vibrance and saturation sliders so that they give off any color casts. I mean, they exaggerate any color casts that might be present in a scene, and you might not see it precisely with those sliders being, in the middle. So here I actually think it is too warm, really. Look, like this is supposed to be black and it is actually yellowish. So let's dial it down, like maybe not that much. Here is all right. And now magenta. Look, if you look closely, like here, I'm not sure if you could pick it up, but I know my camera, and I know that my camera does have a liking in bringing magenta too high. I mean, I just know it about it. Like, so, yeah, there's still some magenta. But if I dial it even further down, then we'll have a huge problem with green. Look, yeah, everything looks like green. So we need to be careful around that. Right. So now with it sort of sorted, we can dial down vibrance and saturation back. And now what I really want in this picture is what I saw over there, being there, shooting it, like this abrupt borderline between the light section on the right and the dark, almost black section on the left, because obviously this is a pole and here is the blackish ceiling of this middle tier over there. Like, look, this is the picture that shows it from the other perspective. So this is it. Like, you've got this passage above the cars in here. The cars are like in this line, and then you've got this passage above them. So what I wanted to show is this, disproportion of lightning between this light corridor, the light space rather, because it's much more than a corridor, and the blackish, like dark exposition here. So what I actually do want to do is dial down the highlights. Why? Because look, the histogram. Look, it is look, when I touch this arrow, you can see the red spots, which means the burnout. So it's burned like a sausage in a fire pit. Now better, right? Everything is all right. Now we've got some blacks going on in here. Yeah, when you click Alt and you click on this on the slider, you can tell, yeah, when it is a mask basically. So when you turn the slider left to right, you can see now all those black areas are just blackish black. It's like you've tripped over a vial of ink. So we don't want that, because there are no details whatsoever in this blackest black area. So we actually do want to sort of get up to the point where there are no blackish blacks. Now, same with whites. Yep, we can go all the way right until we see those burnouts. Now, shadows. This is something tricky because normally I would go like that. Why? Because I would like to reveal everything that's hidden in the shadows, but not now. Why? Because the meaning, that the subject, what I wanted to show in this picture is this disproportion of light and dark. So it is a borderline. I mean, this is the title for this photo. I rarely do come up with titles for my photos because I really believe they should speak for themselves. But here, I think it is a borderline. And not only that, look at this little fellow, like an Asterix. Yep. Our Asterix is actually a borderline Sentinel, isn't it? So I've got a new title for this photo, and I have just come up with it. Really, like now. Well, I thought when I saw this picture, when I took it, I thought, well, it's this border. Yeah, the border is the subject, the black and white sort of situation. But now I think no, our Asterix is the title. So yeah, the borderline Sentinel. Right, let's go further down and let's mess up with tone curves, which is actually my sort of favorite, really favorite. I didn't want to pull you anyway. Right now, we really want some blacks introduced. Not to just make it black like the well, but a little bit. Now we need some contrast. As I told you, I never touch, where is it? The contrast slider. I just never use it because it doesn't look good to me. I very much prefer introduce some contrast with the contrast slider, which is pretty much everything you could ask for. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you might ask, why do I bother tinkering with highlights when I then do it like that? And frankly, I don't know, it just looks good. Yeah, that's good, I think. Yeah. All right. And now, RGB. Yeah, this is a tricky one because I find that I have to look at all three at the same time. Yet I cannot because I make changes one at a time. So when I do like that, I raise reds in the shadows. Obviously, I did. Now, when I do that in this section, I obviously raise some greens in the shadows. Yeah. And now I raise blues. And now, while I'm done with all three, you can tell the sort of final look. And now you've got history. So what I like doing when I tinker with RGB curves, I like going back in this history tool and take a look before any edit to the RGB and after. Before and after. Do I like it? I actually I actually do. So let's leave it at that. And now let's go to color mixer. And that is actually a place where I do any tinkering with saturation if I need any. I don't often need to tinker with that, but I sometimes do. So let's get off with saturation slider. I sometimes do like to dial down yellows because they tend to be too obtrusive. I always dial down greens, but there's not much green in this picture. And I always dial down blues. I don't know why. I just don't like, too saturated blues. And now, since we've got this car that is, it's not really stealing the show, but it's trying to. So we do need to calm it down. Just let's be real. We do need to do it. Right. And actually, sometimes when you want to, boost some color, all you need to do is tinker with luminance, really. Right. With that blue car, we do need to, dial it down a little bit. Now with greens, there's some greens over there, so let's just dial it down. Yeah, and that is actually all. We could do something with yellows, but actually they are quite, I like this thing, and I know what that is. It's that, yeah, that yellow machine. So I want it like that. Looks like a thunder sign. Right, and now what I really like doing is play with hue because it has got a power of, you know, changing the overall color palette of the photo and making it a little bit more coherent. So now with greens, there are some greens, but it doesn't change much. With orange, I sometimes like to dial it a little bit towards red. With yellow, I usually like to dial it a little bit towards orange, but not too much since I don't want this to become orange. Right, and yeah, green is, I just do it always because I always love my greens being warm and yellowish. Yep, even though there are not many greens in here, I still do like doing that. And that, believe it or not, would be all. Right, now color grading. I really like this one. So, midtones. First of all, we need to dial them down a tiny touch. And let's make them a little bit warmer. Like, yeah. Uh, hmm. Yep, like that. I just like my midtones and my highlights a little bit warmer. Let's do the shadows now. Right, so I actually like my shadows to be a little bit darker because, yeah, we've got this borderline situation here. And I actually want them to be a little bit blue, like a little bit. Because, first of all, I know that our color profile, Modern 3, does introduce a little bit of orange into the shadows. And since it gives you a very, very nice sort of cozy feel to the picture overall, I don't particularly like it to be that cozy in this frame. So let's do it like that, sort of. That's a nice shade. Right, and now highlights. Let's do highlights. Yeah, and I want the highlights. I usually do. Well, it's nothing original here, really, because I really do like having my highlights nice and warm. Maybe not that. Right, yeah. And a little bit brighter, not much. Yep, that's all. And now, blending and balance. It means just how you want the blending and balance between all those midtones and shadows and highlights. How do you want them to be? Do you want the shadows setting to affect only the darkest darks, or a little bit of, midtones as well? And yeah, I like it like that. Right. The noise? No, no, thank you. It's quite fine. Not that fine, but still, nobody will be looking at it with that magnitude. Right. Now let's. What is wrong with it? Right. Yeah. Masking. Yeah, that is some nice tool, because if you want to apply some sharpening, you don't want to apply it everywhere. You only want to apply it to the lines that you really want sharpened, like this one. Yep. Our little asterisk hat. Right. While we took down these profile corrections, I see that banana shapes are one thing and the vignetting is another. I said, don't worry, we'll add it up later. So here we've got our post crop vignetting tool, and we can, we should be able to get it done. Now, I don't know what causes this issue. This is obviously a bug. Sometimes vignetting does not work. And being annoying as it is, it actually is not the end of the world, because look what we've got. What nice tool do we have? And probably even a little bit more precise than vignetting itself. Well, maybe not. Maybe let's skip it in the central. Yep. Now we can actually have it as feathery as we can, right? Maybe not that much. Yeah. And now all we have to do is invert like that. And what you do only affects the sort of mirror image of what we did. And yeah, we simply can look. That's vignetting, isn't it? Do you see it? Of course you can. So now that's our vignetting. Yeah, there are usually more than one way of doing things in Lightroom as well as in Photoshop. So now, since we are onto masks, because now just look, this is before and this is after. So quite a change already. But what we really want to do is make this little guy to stand out. So first of all, I really need this window to stand out a little bit, because I noticed that, this is a window of a car, obviously. So No, it's not a window of a car. This is a piece of a ceiling over here, so I really do want it to show a little bit. Maybe not. Let's try. Let's take a brush and just, brush over it a little bit. And just let's take the shadows up a bit. Yeah, to show off the texture of this ceiling over there. Yeah. And now what we want to do is maybe select object and select this asterisk little fellow in here. Quite nice. Nice job, artificial intelligence. Right, and what we want to do now is really, really make it pop. I usually don't think with exposure too much, but here I feel it's justified. Yeah, let's bring highlights a tiny bit and shadows. Yeah, of course. And now, how about some curves? Because obviously you need to tinker with curves. Maybe not too much. Yeah, we want it to be, light. And now what we want to do is bring up clarity, because yeah, we want this little fellow to, really not that much, and perhaps 50%. Yeah. And we really want it to, stand out in the picture. So we want to raise clarity. I. And I really even want to raise the haze a little bit, even though not much. Because the haze basically removes haziness, which is fine sometimes, but sometimes you do need, you really do want things a little bit hazy. Maybe we could touch sharpness. But if we touch sharpness, we also do need to touch noise reduction. Oh, come on, that's all right, I think. Now, without the mask and with the mask, doesn't our little fellow stand out a little bit? Oh, great. Now it's a proper Sentinel, isn't it? Now, if you feel a little bit courageous, we could add a little radial filter right behind him. Yeah, and subtract him from it. Yeah, so that our mask does not affect the little fellow here. And we could, where is it? Yeah, curves. We could make it stand out a bit more by darkening the backdrop behind him. What do you think? Before and with it? Yeah, much better, as I may say so myself. Right, so now we need to address the backdrop as a whole. So what we need doing over there is to dial up. Let's remove that overlay. Yeah, let's dial down exposure just a tiny bit, not much. It's not even a stop down, but it really does make this little fellow stand out. Right, and now what we want to do, because this is our little hero, and the other parts, they really do not need any more clarity nor sharpness even, because we do not want anything but the little fellow to stand out, because the whole meaning of this picture is this little guy protecting these dark passages from the invasion of light. Yeah, look, which way is he facing? He's facing the light. He's guarding the darkness from the light. Ooh, cryptic. Yeah, I might have been playing Morrowind too much. Right, so now, before and after, and even better. Now, take a look. How do you like it? On the left, you've got the straight out of camera, sort of. I'm not going to repeat myself. There is nothing like straight out of camera, in my opinion. But anyway, it is the file that has been imported to the Lightroom, so it is more or less raw. And on the right, it is the version that I actually do like. I mean, I really like it. I know it's not frame worthy, it's not, you know, anything too great, but it is my memory. It's my memory, and moreover, it's my sort of imagination rumbling all over it. So, yeah, I really like it. I hope you found my rumbling behind this edit helpful, or at least a little bit as inspiring. So do keep creating, whatever that is that you create. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.